Hi, I'm Neil. Welcome back to my channel. As you know, I've been a nurse for the last 28 years, and I've been human my whole life. But I just want to share with you the reason why I started this. I called it being vegan because it's not, as you can probably see, that I do share a little bit of recipes. I show a little bit of what I do as far as what I eat, and I shared my story of how I became actual vegan starting last year when I called myself be a vegan. But really, the journey that I've been on has been ongoing my whole life, ever since I was 6 years old. That's the whole total journey of me being vegan. And then when I say being vegan, I don't mean the actual everybody's sense and everybody's explanation of what veganism is. What I mean is that it's a complete system of complete health that I have devised and has been given to me by a divine spirit, that it has changed my life. After I realized what was happening. Before that, I thought my life was shit. Quite honestly. Everything was going wrong. Everything was wrong. That was my interpretation. That was my perception of it at the time, back then. And then as I learned and I grew and I understood what was happening, and when I say understood, I don't mean complete understanding, because still now I don't understand perfectly what I know my role, I know my mission, I know what I need to do, but I don't know what's going to come after that. So I'm sitting here in the unknown, don't know what's coming next. All I know is where I've been, where my memories are at. That's all I can say. Right now, I'm here now. So when I was 6 years old, my dad died. And that was the first introduction. That was my earliest memory. That was my earliest complete memory, was when I was 6. And that news hit me so hard, you can only imagine. And I'm sure people have gone through similar things in their lives. But yeah, this is like I said, this is my journey, my interpretation, and my perception of what's been going on with my life. So when I say that I was being vegan, what I mean is that it's a complete system, and there's 3 systems that need to be aligned together in order for our being, ourselves, our body, our mind, and our spirit all need to be aligned together for complete and total health. So yeah, and that's exactly what the systems are. There's the physical system. That's a system where I've actually been trained to help people heal. And as far as health practitioners go, we don't heal the body. The body does the healing. That's what it's meant to do. That's what it's been evolved to do for all this time. What we do is assist it to heal. We give it the necessary tools in order for it to heal, to close a wound, to fix, put things back together. So acute medicine is come a long way in our science to fix all these physical ailments in the early stages. When we get talking into chronic stuff, when we get into Alzheimer's and diabetes and metabolic syndrome and all these chronic conditions like chronic inflammation and uric acid, when we start talking about all this chronic stuff, that's where our physical medical system actually starts to unravel just a little bit. And then there's new science that's coming out that's really good, showing how certain things can actually reduce the chronic illness that's been going on, and it's showing up in our society today, and it's spreading around the world, and it's a epidemic, really. worse than the Spanish flu of 1900s, and the COVID is nothing compared to what the chronic conditions that we are facing now, and that is the physical energy system, and everything revolves around energy. So the physical energy system, then you have the mental or the psychological or the emotional transfer system, energy system, and that is an energy system. Just like our bodies consume food, we give it the right nutrients, we give it the right conditions, our bodies can thrive, and our bodies can go through anything, really. And then when we talk about the mind and the mental health that's been going on, you feed it this information, you feed the mind all these self-talk and what people say to you, and then what work says to you, what you have to do, and all these pressures pile up on the mind, and that has a toll on our energy system as we transfer the outward projection of people's thought, not what people say to us, and how we interpret that. It's the interpretation that causes the system to go a little bit haywire. And haywire, not meaning that we're all mentally ill, but what I'm saying is that, well, example. So when I was a kid, when I was a child, when I got my news of my dad dying, what had happened was that I went into a deep depression. I didn't know I was in a deep depression because I didn't know what depression was. I know now, but I didn't know then, and no one else was able to help me because they were going through the same thing as I am. So we needed somebody from the outside looking in, but there was nobody that would help us to see. So what happened was that I went into a deep depression. When I got my news of my dad dying, I fell into a pit of despair. That's what it felt like. And I have actually remembered dreams of me falling and waking up at the last second. I'm sure everyone has had those dreams, but specifically, I felt that I was in this pit, and this pit of darkness, and I was alone, and I had nowhere to get out. And then eventually, what happened was that I started walking this dark tunnel. I couldn't even see the light at the end of the tunnel. I didn't think there was anything. I just thought that this was all this darkness. And my interpretation and my perception was that this darkness is all there is. Right? That's all there is. So I did not feel happy. And then when my emotions started creeping up, my emotions started overtaking, and I started feeling like really intense feelings of anger, rage, despair, sorrow, and I couldn't function. But I had to go to school, right? I had to go to school because I knew that I had to help people. That was my one thing that I woke up to one day. I realized that I needed to help people. I didn't want anybody to go and feel what I was feeling. So I had to be in school. I had to be a doctor or a nurse or some kind of health professional. At the time it was a doctor. I thought I was going to be a doctor. But, God had other plans for me. So with that aside, I was in this pit of despair, and all these emotions kept welling up inside of me, and I didn't know how to deal with it. So the only way I knew how to deal with it is become a robot, have no feelings whatsoever. So I pushed everything down, everything. and even so all that sorrow, all that anger, all the despair, I never showed any emotion. Nobody knew anything. Nobody would know what I was going through. And then I felt no happiness, no joy, no nothing. So because I was pushing down what I thought these negative emotions were, of despair, of sorrow, of anger, I pushed all that down so deep that I didn't even know where they went. But following that was happiness, joy, gratitude, and love. Real deep love that I've recently discovered in my life. And I mean recently, I mean in the last 2 years. Like, I'm talking recent. So so I pushed all that down. The good stuff that we all like went down with it. It basically went down like a Titanic in the bottom of the ocean. So that's how I functioned. And in order for people not to know what was going on with me, I pretended I was happy. I pretended I was joyful. I was pretending. So I was lying to myself, really. That's what it comes down to. I did myself such a huge disservice. I didn't allow myself the opportunity to feel those emotions. I really robbed myself, because if I had done that, I know I was a kid, okay, that aside, but imagine if I was and I gave myself the time and the patience and the love that I needed. I gave that to myself. Or if somebody was able to, guide me through that, I could have been healed way sooner than 50 years. That's pretty much how long I waited and how long it took for me to get over. I don't want to say get over. That's not right. That's not the right words. To heal. Yeah, that truly is. It took me 50 years to finally heal. And when I mean heal fully and completely. And that's what it had to take. Anyways, but if I had somebody to guide me through that, I could have been healed a lot sooner. And then understand that going through all that sorrow or that anger, all that stuff is messy. It's dirty work. But you can do it with so much love. And then that's the point I'm trying to make with the mental or the psychological or the emotional energy system. And then with that energy system, that transfer of energy into my mind transferred into my body. And now my body has stored all that anguish, all that anger, all that hatred, all that got stored down. And I didn't value myself at the time either. I hated. I don't like to use the word hate, but that's the only way I can describe it. I hated myself. And I hated myself for decades. Not years. I'm talking decades I hated myself. But I didn't show that to anybody. I kept it down in. And that was the disservice I did to myself. I gave myself no chance to heal. 0 chance. I did not love myself to do that. But I'm sharing that with you now because I want to give you what I didn't have. I want to give you I want to give people the love and compassion that it took me 50 years to learn for myself. So that's the emotional emotional transfer system. That's the energy system. Because like remember what I said. Remember what I said. It's all about energy. And like it or not, you don't have to be psychic. You don't have to have all these special gifts because we have it in us. We have it all in us right now for us to feel other people. When we know when their intentions are true, we know when it's real. We know when people are being fake. We have this gut instinct. We know it. So we don't have to be anything special. We don't have to know anything. We just know. And having that system and that energy transfer into the body, that gets stored into the body, and then that makes our body produce certain hormones, certain chemicals that feeds back into our brains to tell us that we're unworthy. And that's what happened to me. I became unworthy. Other people's opinion of me was more important than what I thought of myself. And some people didn't like me, and that hurt me deeply. And then other people loved me, and I love that, right? Who wouldn't? So I thought that love existed only outside the body, outside of ourselves, outside of myself, and I seek that. I went out on my way and I looked for that in somebody, and then that failed relationship after failed relationship after failed relationship. Finally, I understand that love does not exist the way I needed it to heal outside. It existed within myself, and I finally unlocked that. And that comes to the last energy system, because I said there was three. There's the physical, there's the emotional, and now there's the third one, which is the spiritual. And I know I don't really care what you think. I mean, I do to some extent. You know, it's important to me what you think, but for myself, God, starting in 2017, I started it way back when I was 6, when I was introduced to God. And our family wasn't religious at all. I was the only one that followed religion. Everyone else didn't believe in God in my family. So I knew that God was speaking to me. And when God speaks to you, He doesn't speak to you in a way that you can hear, because they don't exist with what we can see, with our hearing, what we can taste, our smell. It doesn't exist in our 3D dimension the way that we have it right now. They exist outside, and I say they because they're non-binary. They exist outside of our senses, except for one sense, and that's the sixth sense, the sense of feeling. So God is a feeling, and you feel God. And when you get that Holy Spirit inside you, when you get that sense, the feeling of gratitude, compassion, and love, oh, that is the most amazing feeling I've ever felt in my life when that first happened. And I remember when that first happened. That happened 2 years ago while I was triaging somebody. I was in an emergency department, and I was just talking to somebody, and this overwhelming feeling of love came over me, and I'm like, whoa, what the heck was that? And that's God. God exists in the 12th dimension. He exists outside, and God has given us, each of us, a gift inside of us, and that's a spark of divinity. Each one of us has a spark of divinity inside of each of us. And it doesn't matter who you are or what you are, we all have it. Everything. on the creation that God has created is that spark. Every living thing. Every non-living thing. Everything that God has touched has a spark of divinity. So not everything knows. This is the key, though. Not everybody knows that they're consciously aware that the spark exists. And they're not consciously aware they're even alive. Right? So they don't even know they have this. And most people, the majority of people, don't even know that this exists. Now you do. And in each of us, there's that spark of divinity, and that spark is the creation spark. And our job here on earth is to connect and know God, to create. Whatever it is, we have a mission here on earth, and our mission is to create. And then when we came down to earth, we all signed up for something. I don't know, I don't know what your mission is. I don't know anybody else's mission, but this is my mission. My mission is to do what I'm doing, to heal, to guide people, to coach. That's my mission. And each of us has a spark of divinity inside that we can create, that we use it to create our lives. We create everything around us. We create the life around us. We create the relationships with people that we talk to every day. We create everything in our life. And the majority of us have cut ourselves off from God. So we have lost a huge system. But by reconnecting with the Spirit, whatever it is you call God, a blade of grass, and every language has a language or a word for a blade of grass, right? A blade of grass is the same grass wherever you go. Doesn't matter where you go, right? You go to Japan, you go to China, you go to India. I don't know if India has grass. But anyways, anywhere there's grass, everybody has a word for it in their language, right? It's the same thing for God. So you call it Yahweh, you call it Jehovah, you call it whatever it is. You call God Spirit, you call it the Source. It doesn't matter. God will answer you, and then as long as you know how to pray. And like I said, God doesn't. The only way to communicate is through feelings. And I did myself such a big disservice by cutting off my feelings, because I cut off that connection with God, and I cut him off for the most of my life. And then when that happens, you lose a piece of yourself. You lose you just lose so much. I lost so much, but there's the caveat is this: it's never too late. God is always there for you, whatever. If you believe in Him, believe in them or not, it doesn't matter. You believe or don't believe, God knows you, and God believes in you. And that's really what matters. God knows you, God believes in you, right? So it doesn't matter if you don't believe in Him. He's there for you whenever you need Him. You guys got to be there and be part of the conversation. That's pretty much the bottom line. So when you lose that third and final energy sense, which is outside of our bodies produce the electrical field from our from our heart, mind. Our system is all electrical. We have this whole thing of electricity that expands out from us. And how far does it go? It goes to infinity. And it transcends dimensions. It transcends everything. It transcends time and space. It transcends distances. It doesn't matter. The feeling of love, compassion, and gratitude. There's no limit to it. There's no time limit. There's no distance limit. We're only limited by our thinking and our minds. But that feeling can expand. You have that feeling, it expands for eternity. And that is the feeling of being with God. And when you have that, I can attest to you, when you have that complete feeling, the feeling of you are worthy, physical health, and the feeling of completeness with God, you have complete and total health. So that's pretty much what I think about when I say being vegan. That's what I think of. It's complete and total health. Physical health, emotional, mental health, and spiritual health. All three are essential to be a complete, whole, healed person. Yeah. Thanks for watching.